Woohoo! These stories are absolutely awesome. They're phenomenal. I love the stories, and they're not fairy tales. They're actually happening, or actually happened. Yosef is who we talked about last time. This is a big family. These are the heads, the chiefs, the fathers of the Jewish nation. And so we have Yosef is who we discussed last time. Joseph, what a man. I love that guy. By the way, I forgot somebody. I forgot one of the kids, one of the siblings. You know what's very special about her? Her was a she. They had a sister. Now I'm going to see if you could tell where she is on this board here. One of these persons, one of these siblings was a girl. And I didn't mean to do that. Girls are very special, very precious. But I was thinking so much of the patriarchs, that's what they're called, the men, the leaders of the homes, that I forgot to put her in there. Can you tell where she is? If you want, you can pause this for a second. You don't have to, but you can pause it and take a good look at that real quick and see if you can tell who that is. Okay. If you found her, right here is Dinah. Okay. Her name was Dinah. And there she is right there. She was right after Zebulun. All right. So here we go. We're going to go into our next awesome character. Now, this guy. Woo! Drum roll. Again, he is fabulous. This guy was the most, the greatest prophet probably in the Old Testament. He wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, by the way, which is cool. And he's the one that actually God used to give us the 10 commandments and all the law of God and all. He was a great Jewish person. By the way, when I say Jewish, do you know which man the word Jew came from? Jews are the people originally that God had chosen. He still has them, a great love for them. And of course, now if you come to Jesus Christ and you can get, saved, you can be not from this family. Most people aren't. You can still be chosen of God too, which is very cool. But that was the original group. This is the original group, original nation, because of the grandfather of Jacob, blah, blah, blah. There's so much here. We have Abraham, who had Isaac, who had Jacob or Jacob. By the way, his name was changed to Israel, Yisrael, okay, which is a very cool story there. But we have, these names are interchangeable. And have you ever heard of the nation, the country Israel? Well, that's where we get this name from these guys. All right, or from that guy. All right, so we're going to go with him, Levi, and find out what this great man that I was just talking about was. Like, wow, is he popular? Very, very powerful. And I love him to death. He really had a close walk with God, just like you can, child. You can have a real close walk with God. As a matter of fact, the Bible says he saw God face to face in a poetic form. He didn't really see his face. He wouldn't be able to handle that. He's so brilliant and so powerful. But he had a personal, real, intimate, close relationship with God. You can too. Through Jesus Christ, you can come to God and have a really close relationship. And God spoke to Moses. I said the name. I almost said it. What is it? Moses. He spoke to Moshe, the Hebrew form of his name. He spoke to him really deeply, and he gave him word for word and told us what to do and everything. Well, anyway, Levi, okay, had a son, and then the grandson of Levi was Amram, okay, and then he had a wife named Jochebed or Jochebed, okay. So then Amram, that should be an M. Amram, see, he had both of them, they had a child, and that child was Miriam, okay, which is Miriam, and then she, then they had her younger brother, about 4 years probably later, was Aaron, which is Aharon, okay? And then from there, yay, here it is, a big guy, a really powerful guy. His name, I'll put a star by him. His name was Moses, or Moshe. Now, when Amram and Jochebed had that child, they realized something was very special about him. Like he was a beautiful child. There's something significant. But let's get into the story, and there's so much in here I could talk for a long time. I'm trying to keep it short, but let's get into what happened with this guy. And I picked him because his childhood is kind of briefly mentioned, and really good stuff here, so be sure and listen, okay? So I'm going to attempt to draw a map of where they lived and all, and see if I can get this kind of good. We'll see how I do. I'm drawing this map. I hope you can see. Okay, so what we're going to do is quickly do the top of Africa. Africa is one of the continents. As you probably know, maybe, unless you're really younger, Africa kind of looks like this, okay? Well, we're going to do that area right there because that's where they lived. They ended up getting there because Joseph ended up coming over there. And long story short, the family followed later. Joseph and all the brothers, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, and all that. They came over there, even the dad, and they had about 70 different ones with their children and a lot of kids and all that. All those sons had a lot of kids and all big families, a lot of them. And so they ended up going there, and then Joseph actually finally died, and then they all died off. Now the king really liked Joseph. He helped their country big time. And remember, Joseph was a second in charge. He was he was a ruler, maybe with a prince's crown or something, but he really helped that nation. And then he died, and then of course that Pharaoh or the king died. And then, so the people of Israel, or of Jacob, was over there, and they lived there. So I'll try and draw this best I can. Here's, let's just kind of draw a line that comes across here. That's not really great, but anyway, this is Egypt. Oh, let's see. We have to draw a little bit of Africa here. It kind of comes something like this. I might have to erase this. But it comes down like this, and then it goes up like this. It's called the Peninsula of Sinai, Sinai Peninsula. Kind of looks like a snow cone, like not snow, a sugar cone, like an ice cream cone. And then this comes down here, and it goes over there. All right, it's actually supposed to be angled, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. And then we have the Nile River. Oh, one of the biggest rivers in the world. Is it Nile or Amazon? One of those are the biggest. I think it's Nile, but I'm not sure. The longest, maybe. And Nile comes up here, kind of comes over here. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if I can do this. It goes around here like this, and it comes up here, and then it has like a bunch of, I can't think of the name of that, but rivers that come, or springs are coming out. It's like fingers, and there it is. And then the people, Jacob's people, Joseph and all them, in Egypt, they lived in this area named Goshen, which is right about there. By the way, this is a big, big body of water. It's in the Old Testament. Anytime you read it, you read in the Bible, you come across the Great Sea. The Great Sea, okay? That's where this kind of comes up here into the land of Israel and all. But anyway, so what happened, long story short, trying to go through this, the new king came up, and the people of Jacob, Israel and all, they multiplied like crazy. It reminds me of Genesis chapter 1 and also chapter 9, where it talks about be fruitful and multiply. They became exceedingly fruitful and multiply, very healthy, and they were there, and they became so many that it's almost like they're getting as many as the Egyptians themselves, the people of Egypt. And so that king, one of the kings there, after a couple hundred years or whatever, something like that, they started realizing, oh my goodness, look at all these people. What if these people become like against us? Because let's say a nation attacked the Egyptian nation, and there's all these people that over here that might turn against us, and then they'll have even more to fight us. So they made them slaves. And they started giving, the Bible talks about the word bitter and vigor, and it was really horrible. And they had to make bricks. They started building their cities and everything, and they treated them horribly. That king was mean, and the people of Egypt, as a rule, not all of them, became really tough and mean, and they started using them. Not good. So they cried out to God for a good long time, a couple hundred, whatever years. And they were there, by the way, totally in Egypt for about 430 years. But real quick, I'm going to kind of do this, what happened. They start crying out to God, and that king finally said, by the way, when right before Moses was born, he said, you know what? let's not only enslave them and all that, but the last king that was over them said, let's kill all the baby boys. Whoever's born, isn't this horrible? He said, kill them as soon as they get born, kill them. Just get them out there, because that'll cut down on the population, cut some of the people out. Genocide. Oh, not good. So, well, this is when Miriam, Aaron, and then Moses was born during this time. And so Jochebed and Amram decided, well, we don't want to have them kill him. So they hid the baby. I don't know how they did it, but they hid that baby really well. Take care of it, and maybe it was the Miriam and the oldest one, and maybe Aharon, was looking out for any soldiers coming around and looking for the babies, and they were slaughtering the babies, so they hid them for 3 months. And then after a while, they realized they can't keep holding this little baby. He's 3 months old. He's crawling. He's moving around. More and more. Oh my goodness! So they couldn't hide him. So I'm sure Jochebed and Amram prayed like crazy, like, God, what do we do? Well, he gave them an idea. I believe it was of the Lord. And he said, why don't you make something? So they kind of made a basket, sort of like an ark, a box. It's, or something that I don't know what it looks like exactly. This is a possible look of what it maybe could have looked like. She took pitch and kind of put this thing together, maybe from the reeds or something, and made this basket. And they decided to, I don't know if there was a lid on it, probably. They put the baby, Moses, in there. You say, why are they doing that? Well, what she decided to do is take her baby, Jochebed, took it and put it in the basket and put it on the Nile River. Wow. This is, by the way, the Nile River that I just drew earlier. That Nile was actually like with crocodiles and everything. She said, I believe that God's going to protect my baby, and let's just put him out there, and maybe he'll flow to an Egyptian or something that's going to take care of him. And so she prayed like crazy. Now she sent Miriam out to watch this baby. I think Miriam was probably 7 years old, and so she walked along kind of from a distance and watched what that basket was doing. That river is actually where they were killing the babies too. I forgot to mention that. They were throwing the babies in the river, and some of it had crocodiles, a crocodile-infested river. So, but I'm sure, by the way, if there was Miriam was really good, saw a crocodile or something, she would take the basket out real quick or something. But it floated, and guess where it floated? This is so cool. That basket floated right up into the palace where Pharaoh was the king. You said, why is that cool? He's the one that's wanting to kill all of them. Well, right at that time, I love God and his timing and his wisdom and everything. Right at that time, that baby in that basket floated down right when she was coming out to bathe, taking a bath in the river there. She had her women servants and all, and she saw that basket among the reeds. The reeds are kind of like stalks of sort of miniature trees or branches coming out of the water. And Miriam saw this, kind of stood from a distance, and she was hiding herself. And she saw that basket, opened it up, and the baby was crying, started crying, or was crying. And she said, this is a Hebrew child. And her heart, Pharaoh's daughter, the king's daughter, the princess, saw him and went, had compassion on this little baby, And so I love this. It's so special, so moving. And she took that baby and said, I'm not gonna give it to my father, and or maybe she convinced him to keep it. I don't know if he knew. I don't think he did, probably. And so Miriam stepped out of the hidden shadows type thing, came out and said, would you like me to go find or fetch a mother who will be able to nurse the child, provide milk for the child? And so she said, yeah, go for it. Now, I kind of wonder if Pharaoh's daughter, we don't know her name, I don't know at this point anyway, the Bible doesn't say it, kind of said, I bet this is that sister, that boy, I don't know. But, little Miriam ran as fast as she could, out of breath. Guess what, Mom? And she said, probably like, the princess, Now, at that point, Jochebed went, not the princess, I don't know. Why her? The daughter of the king who's wanting to kill all the babies, I don't know. But she said, no, she loves that little baby. She could tell she wants to take care of it. So she asked for you to be hired. She's going to pay her wages to take care of the baby until the baby is off of milk and then goes to baby food and real food. It's called weaning. And so she went, and the princess gave the baby back to her mother, his mother. And so Miriam's mom, Jochebed, went and probably went back home and just stayed there until he was big enough to start eating baby food and real food and all. So instead of just milk. So, and then she brought him back Jochebed brought the baby Moshe, back to the princess daughter, and he was raised in that home, probably the richest home there was, maybe, the palace, and got the best education that he could get. I think, see, here's the thing. God decided to give Jochebed this idea so that he could get him to be raised in the most powerful family there is in the world at that time, this Egyptian family under Pharaoh, and or Paro is what it is in the Hebrew. And so here he is, being raised with the best education, best food, learns all the languages and writes, learns how to write. A lot of people in those days didn't know how to write. Now, writing was, in the past, there were people who didn't believe that writing was at the time of Moses, and they kind of doubted whether Moses actually wrote the Bible, the first 5 books. But the fact is, it's been proved now that writing had already started before Moses' time. But he learned how to write, learned how to read, and I think God set that up for him to be able to work with Egypt later in his life. He came back to Egypt and all. And by the way, after he got old enough, he rejected being a son of the Pharaoh. He rejected all those riches. He was probably the richest man, one of the richest men in the whole world at that time. He rejected that because he realized that the people of Israel, Jacob, and Jochebed, that's the true God. Instead of Egypt in this area, here, they believed in all sorts of gods. Pharaoh was even, thought of as a god and everything, where he realized that his own people, who he grew up a little bit with, and he knew of Miriam and Aaron, that this is a true and living God. So he actually left and fled Egypt. And that's all I'm going to say right now. There's a lot of wonderful points to the story, but I kind of gave you an idea. And what I just want to say as you as a child is trust God that he's going to lead you. Trust God that he's going to protect you. Do all the learning you can, whatever education you get. And Moses was very educated. And so he learned a tremendous amount. And so you need to learn a tremendous amount. So God can use that knowledge for later in your life. Okay, so learn at school. And also, walk with God. He began getting to know God, and he really got to know God later. But you can start now, get to know him. And if you want to read these stories yourself about Moses, even more details, Exodus chapter 1, okay? Exodus 1 and 2. Those are really amazing stories about him. All right, God bless you. We'll get into our next character, our next child pretty soon, but this one was all about Moses. All right, God bless.